everyone. So I know I owe you guys a sit down video because it's been a while since I've done one, and I did say that I would do one for you guys at least once per month. So I'm going to deliver on that promise. I'm gonna start to do a series on my channel where I discuss things that I should have done better, anything trauma related, or anything that I think will have you guys get to know me a little bit better. So today I'm going to be talking about things that I could have seen as red flags in relationships. And a lot of these things are hard to talk about, but I'm going to do it anyways because I think that it's important for me to use this as a therapy outlet and also for you guys to get to know me and use these experiences as things you should never do. So there was an instance where I went out with this guy that I was dating at the time, and he took me out with his friends and his cousin and their friends. And I was, excited to go to meet everyone. I thought it was going to be a good night. But I just remember the whole night was just like weird. I just felt weird vibes. I didn't really feel welcome, but I made the most out of it. Now, it comes to the end of the night now, and we had Ubered to the lounge or the pub that we were at that night. His cousin asked at the end of the night for my boyfriend to send him the money for the Uber, like our part of the Uber. My boyfriend turns to me and was like, we're going to split it 3 ways, right? He's referencing myself, himself, and his cousin. Now, me being me, for anyone who knows me, I don't sweat over money. Like, I just feel like I'm your new girlfriend. You're bringing me into your social circle. You are supposed to take care of me. It shouldn't be the other way around. I was so frustrated. I was actually quite embarrassed. And I literally just said, you know what? Give me your e-transfer. And I sent him the entire amount. That was probably the first situation where I was like, yeah, this guy, I can't rely on him to like take care of me. Like, it wasn't giving like, boyfriend material. Once again, I just let it slide. That was one of the first incidents. The next incident, him and I had went to a Whole Foods, and he went into the store to go grab a few things. I picked up like one of those cold pressed juices. And he had me stand in line. He had me stand in line behind him to pay for my $2 drink. He did not offer to pay. He just had me standing behind him with a drink in my hand. Now, at the end of the day, I'll always cover my whatever I pick up. But I just feel like as a man, as a gentleman, as someone who's still in the courting phase with me, wouldn't you want to just pay for my drink as a courtesy? Like, I would even do that for a stranger on the street. So like, I thought that was like hella weird. Very big turnoff for me, but once again, let it slide. I also, that same afternoon, had to spend like 1 to 2 hours outside in the sun taking shirtless photos of him in the parking lot. Yeah, that was a red flag. I'm literally going to skip over all of the hard stuff to talk about when it comes to us, like surrounding us, having a child, because we do have a daughter together. Just because I don't think that in this video I can explain it the way I want to explain it. But now fast forward to our child's baptism. He got extremely intoxicated and made one of my friends feel uncomfortable with a comment that he was making towards her. When we got home from the baptism, he was really drunk. He proceeded to get in my face and use scare tactics to scare me and yell at me and call me a whore and call me every single name you could possibly think of in the book. I didn't. Red flag. I missed. Let it go. We moved on like nothing ever happened. Another incident would be when him and I and my family and my kids went to Ottawa for the weekend. Now, we had planned a trip to Mexico before we went to Ottawa, so that was already booked. When we got to Ottawa, my family was walking around, like all of us, we were walking around looking for food. We couldn't find anything. Now, this was during COVID, so our malls in Ontario were, in Toronto, were shut down at the time. When we got to Ottawa, they had access to shopping there. So I realized that Zara was just across the street from where they were looking for food. So I was like, okay, I'm going to run in here really quickly and look for some stuff. Can you just like buy the kids food or whatever, right? And my mom was aware I was stepping over to the mall as well. He became increasingly more angry as the seconds went on. My phone was in the bottom of my daughter's stroller, so I wasn't able to see that he was calling me down. When I did finally get a hold of my phone, I was met with text messages from him saying things like, get the fuck over here to your kids. If you buy anything, once we get to the room, I'm going to trash everything. I'm going to cut everything up. And when I went back outside to join the rest of the group, he got in my face and was yelling at me. There was a lady that was sitting right across from where he was yelling at me. And he looked at the lady and he screamed in her face and said, what the are you looking at? Have you never seen a couple argue before? I was completely humiliated. I was quite upset. I asked for the room key to go back to the hotel. He would not allow me to go back to the hotel. And I expressed to him how this was making me feel. He did not care. Moving on to the next embarrassing red flag. There was another incident where him and I were in my car sitting in front of his mom's home. He had just finished getting me something to eat. We were sitting in the car just eating McDonald's, and we began to play fight. Now, he had a necklace on his neck, and during the midst of play fighting in the car and tugging and fighting, I yanked on his chain by accident and it snapped. Now, immediately, because of things in the past, I knew that he was going to flip out. So I stopped immediately. I put my hands up and I said, please don't get upset. We can drive to the mall right now and I'll pay for it to get fixed. Please don't be mad at me. He decided to take the bag of food that I had in my hand and throw it all over the car and over me, spill everything in the car, get out of the car, open up all the doors and scream, get the fuck up out of here and help me find my fucking chain. Now, me being me, on one hand, I was like, who the fuck are you talking to? And then on the other hand, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know why you're acting like this. I sat in the car for a second, and I said to myself, Nicola, you're so much better than this. Do not allow this man to treat you this way. So I proceeded to get out of the car and close the doors, and I was about to leave. He, as I started driving, pulled up to the side of my car, went in front of the car, and said, if you leave, we're done. So now he's manipulating me. Now he's trying to put the ball in his court. So I drived up a little bit and then I reversed and I stopped. I got out of the car. At this point, he was already making his way inside. When I got inside the house, he was fuming, okay? I tried to sit down and tried to talk to him, tried to calm him down. Nothing was calming this man down, nothing. Now, at this point, after sitting there with him for probably half an hour and he's just livid, but he's now livid to the point where he's a little bit calmer and he's not talking to me at all. So I'm just telling him, okay, like you wanted me to stay to help you. I want to take you to the mall. He wasn't trying to hear any of it. And all I remember is I was sitting on, let's say this side of the bed and he's sitting here. He picks me up by my hoodie and throws me down onto the ground and proceeds to drag me by my hoodie down the hallway in his house. And I'm kicking and I'm screaming and nobody can hear me. His mom was upstairs. Nobody could hear me and he wouldn't let me go. When he finally did let me go, I got up and I rushed to like one of the closets in the room. And he just kept banging on the door, He kept banging and banging and banging, but I would not let him inside the closet. And then he pried his way in there, and I was just in there. I was fearing for my life. I was so scared because he was at such a level where he has never crossed that boundary before. And I just almost didn't know what to expect, seeing him that angry and seeing him drag me through his house like a freaking rag doll. I had never, ever thought that he would do something like that to me. Little did I know that was just the beginning. But he banged and banged and banged and begged. Then I finally let him in, and he apologized, and he hugged me, and we kissed, and we made up, sort of. Because then I told him, I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go home. I'm going to take the night to myself. When I got home, he called and texted me and begged me to come over to my house so that he can make things right. I allowed him to do that. In my head, I still wanted to make it work, and I still wanted to prove to myself that this wasn't the person that I was falling in love with. This person could not have been the person that, you know, I knew and I loved. So I just convinced myself that, no, he's better than this. So he came over, he spent the night, and I just remember tossing and turning the entire night. I kept telling myself that I was scared. Like I didn't feel comfortable in the bed with him. And I remember he woke up the next morning and he said that I jumped up out of my sleep at one point and I was like this over him. Like I wanted to stab him, but I was dreaming. That goes to show you I was dreaming in defense mode. And that was scary for both him and I. There's so much, but I'm going to make this the last incident that I'm discussing, and I'll possibly do a part 2. So there was a night that we went out for dinner, and usually when we go out for dinner, we have to figure out like plans for the kids and stuff. So he figured out that his mom was able to watch his son. We thought it was going to be a great night. Like we were super excited to go out and just have some time for just us. So we dropped off his son at his mom's and then dropped off our daughter at my neighbor's, and it was going to be a good night. So we went to this lights festival across the street from a mall in Mississauga, and we had a great time. Like it was really, really fun. Then we ended up going to a Mexican restaurant, and we had dinner, we had drinks, and he was drinking quite a bit. I did tell him to stop, but you can't control him when he drinks. And this particular night, right before we went into the restaurant, he had already downed an entire bottle of tequila margarita mix or something like that. I forgot what it's called. He had that entire bottle. And then I think what really set him off was the bartender had given us 2 shots of Wray and Nephew. And I told him not to take those because he had the entire bottle of tequila. Then he had beers at dinner, 2 beers. And then he was going to have those 2 shots. And I told him not to, but he didn't listen to me. So after he had those 2 shots, we left. We went out. We were on our way home to go pick up the babies. And just one thing led to another, and we were talking about conversations about previous partners, and that set him off. He started calling me a tramp, a whore, every single thing you could possibly think of that you wouldn't want anyone to call you. He called me that night. And I just remember picking up the kids, and on our way back to my house, I told him, I was like, I don't think it's a good idea for you to spend the night after how you just spoke to me, calling me out all sorts of names. I think it's a better idea for you to go home tonight. He's still quite intoxicated at this point. He decides that, I told him, I was like, your son's sleeping in the back. I would feel comfortable if your son sleeps at my place tonight, and you can pick him up in the morning when you're more coherent, and you can take an Uber from here to your house. He decides he's not going to do that. He takes his sleeping child and puts him in the car and decides to leave. But he forgets something. But I had already locked up the doors and everything once they left. I was like, okay, not my problem. So at this point he leaves, and I guess he comes back to, because he realizes he forgets something. He's texting me and calling me, but I wouldn't answer the phone because I was in the bathroom and my phone was in the bedroom. So I saw the first 2 calls, but I was like, no. But then the multiple calls after that, I just threw the phone and went to the bathroom. So then he thinks it's a brilliant idea to start banging down the windows. And I live in a basement apartment at this time. Banging down the windows. Then when he still can't get a hold of me, he kicks the window in. I'm going to try to show you guys the image. I don't know if I can, but I will try. This guy busted in my windows. And then after he busted in my basement windows, he fled. And then the next day he texted me saying, "I'm so sorry for lashing out like that. I will pay for the damages," which he never ended up paying for. The very next day, me being the smart girl that I am, he apologized, and we were supposed to go over to my godmother's house that day. He begged me to come. I still allowed him to come because I loved him and I saw beyond all of this craziness, and I was gonna let him come. And we surely went on to go on that day and meet my family, and he just apologized and we put a band-aid on and just moved past it. Not my finest moments. I'm definitely going to have to do another part to this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a comment. Leave those comments, guys, and subscribe, because there's going to be more trauma series, and there's probably going to be a part 2 to this, okay? So I hope you guys can take something from this, because please do not be like me. Please, please, please don't be like me. I am going to keep telling you guys my ridiculous stories so that you can learn from it, so that you can work on your own mental health, and we're gonna heal together, because we are on a healing journey, as I've said before. I'm super excited to share my experiences with you guys, as I feel like there's so much that you can learn from me, and we can do this together. So I'll see you in part 2, and I hope you enjoy this new series. Bye.